and welcome back to the inn. We are in the home stretch. Thursday, we get our hands on the Frozen Throne, or at least get to place ourselves upon the Frozen Throne. But before then, we've still got more cards to review. So let's go ice fishing, shall we? It's a 2-cost shaman spell to where you can draw 2 Murlocs from your deck. I love this card right now because I've been playing Quest Murloc or Quest Shaman in Wild lately, and being able to just throw 2 of these bad boys in at 2 to where I can actually draw 2 Murlocs from my deck and thin my deck out a little bit more and just make it faster with no drawback is amazing. So, if anything, I can also see this being implemented and used in Standard. But I'm more or less still leaning towards the Wild side because there's a lot more stuff in Wild to be able to chew the fat over and be able to actually use in a Quest Shaman deck. So it's just like with ice fishing, please, just give me the Frozen Throne already. I want it. Well,
yeah, I think this is definitely going to be seeing play in like Murloc Shaman. A lot of people are going, well, it could be play in other type of shamans. I'm going, not really. Like, I don't think you would play this in Frost Shaman just to get your Burlocks. I don't think it's worth it there. But I think in Murloc Shaman, I think that you will definitely use it. It's a kind of a niche card depending on your deck. Definitely very strong in tribal decks. Not so much in non-tribal decks. But, you know, I do think it's going to see a little bit of play. Next up, we have Roll the Bones, which is a 2-cost rogue spell that says draw a card. If it has Death Rattle, cast this again. This has the potential to be very good in the right deck. I think by itself... Actually, by itself, I think that this is not a bad effect. 2-cost draw a card is about right, spell-wise, so this is not a bad card. And then in the fact of the matter is, in certain decks, you're bound to get at least 2 draws. Now, I don't think this is going to be good in a Death Rattle focused deck, where like a N'Zoth rogue. I think this is the wrong draw engine for that. For pretty much the same reason why you do not run Wrathion in Dragon decks. Because if you're focused on Death Rattle, you run a very big risk of potentially burning cards. So you want this to be in a deck with a few Death Rattles, but not a lot of Death Rattles. That way you can kind of aim to get at least 2 cards, but you're not going to really overdraw. So I think something like, I don't know, I think Jade Rogue would really like a card like this. I think it would do very well in Jade Rogue. So I think, yeah, this is a pretty nifty card. I kind of like it.
I'm on the other side of that coin, because it's just like, if you're looking at something like Jade Rogue, there's not too many Death Rattles that Jade Rogue is going to want to actively run. So, it's more or less, I would rather take this card and run it in, I would say, more of a mid-level Death Rattle Rogue / N'Zoth Rogue deck. Because, of course, you're going to have spells and things like that, and you would have to hit an insane amount of Death Rattle to burn through it. But if you have that balance of, like, spell and Death Rattle, Roll the Bones works.
Yeah,
so,
I think that... I'm not sure what you mean by spells, like going, you need to have half your deck of spells, half your deck of Death Rattle,
no,
this is how we work it. That's,
when I go along with, like, spells, I'm going along the lines of, like, okay, you know you're running Eviscerate. Like,
yeah.
no duh. Depending on the meta, you could run Fan.
Yeah, but even if you're running those common rogue spells, you're still, if you're running N'Zoth Rogue, you are running a lot of Death Rattles. That's a very real possibility. I don't think you run this in a N'Zoth Rogue. Like, I don't think that's a good idea. You don't want a lot of Death Rattles to basically get the most out of this. I do think Jade Rogue has the potential to get the most out of this. You're saying, well, there's probably about 3 Death Rattles, but here's the thing. You just wanted to hit at least twice. And there's a very good chance that you'll be able to do that with Death Rattle, with Jade Rogue. There's probably even a few Death Rattles that you might want to slip into Jade Rogue. So...
Okay, which Death Rattles?
Well, you're going to have your main 3. You're gonna be running 2 Swarmers, and you're gonna be running Aya, and I don't know. You could probably fit in another Death Rattle if you really want to.
Okay, see, that's the thing, is that you have those 3 as your main.
Do you really expect, like, if you play this on turn 2, do you really expect you're gonna have all your Death Rattles in hand? I mean, even if this gets you 1 card, drawing a card for 2 mana, dude, is actually a good effect. Even if it doesn't go off multiple times, it's still not an overpriced effect.
Yes, but the thing being is if I want to, I can also just drop in Cult Masters and just go, and I'll take my board, or at least take some of the little smaller Jades and just run them into my opponent's board, and then just start chain drawing on those. Yes, it's a 4 cost, but... it's a lot more efficient in the long run.
Yeah. Well, you're looking at this going, well, because it's not going to get off a lot of draws here, it's just a bad card in general. I don't think it's going to fit in the Zoth Rogue, and you don't think it's going to fit in Jade Rogue. And my point is that by itself, the price is decent, it's not a badly costed card, and it has the potential in the right kind of deck to go off a couple more times. So it's not a bad card. I think it's going to see play.
Yeah, that's why I was going along the lines of like in a mid style, like middle of the road, to where you've got a good balance. Like, because Jade Rogue, Zoth Rogue, way too opportunistic to be able to burn. So it's just like, find the middle point, find the middle man in a sense, and just go, okay, here. Nah, I mean?
Yeah, I guess it just depends on the right build, and we'll see. I think there'll be rogue builds that will actually run it. I was actually thinking certain rogue decks in Wild might be the most apt to run this, though. Because they don't need a lot of Death Rattles, and then you just use like your Unearthed Raptor, and there you go. You don't need to really build an Azoth Rogue or Death Rattle Rogue. You just build certain synergies and just have a handful of Death Rattles, and I think this is going to get a lot more use maybe in Wild.
Hey, that middle of the road thing I was talking about.
But we'll see what Rogue wants to do in the long run.
If anything, like, we're going to see what Rogue's going to do, because, like, Rogue is just this class that now has the ability to be able to shift and do differential things in the meta. But I think we'll get towards the, we'll get to that towards the end of this, so that way I can go ahead and scoot and maneuver on over to Acolyte of Agony. 3 cost, 3/3 priest common card with lifesteal. Okay, so I'm looking at this, and I'm going, priest, you're starting to get a really nice curve about you. You've got a solid 1-drop in Northshire Cleric, a solid 2-drop in Radiant Elemental. Now you've got a couple of solid 3-drops with Acolyte of Agony, as well as Cabal Talon Priest. And then you just start to just go into 4, 5, and keep on going. And plus, given that this is straight up lifesteal, now you've got more healing coming to the class. So, if we go like Tempo Priest, or like maybe for some reason that Aggro Priest I mentioned earlier in other videos, this definitely could see play. I like it. I really do, because it's just like, it's super nice. Just super nice as far as stat line goes and everything. I'm gonna throw it to you, dude.
Yeah, it's a decent stat line. It could be a real threat with lifesteal. I'm not sure about what kind of decks are going to use this, though, because I feel that Priests can get a lot more synergistic. Maybe if Priests are going for a certain type of value game, but I'm just thinking about the type of Priest decks that we are seeing now and that I expect to see in the next expansion, and I'm having a hard time kind of seeing where this fits. It's one of those things where it's like, this is a decent card, but where does it exactly fit? And I'm kind of there. I'm just going, this could be nice if you still have room that you need to fill, but otherwise, I'm kind of meh on it, to be completely honest. My hopes for a Vampire Priest deck were not met. We really needed a Vampire Priest hero power for that one, and Warlock got it. So, no Vampire Priest for me, and because of that, my interest in this kind of has waned. Like I said, I think that if you kind of have built your deck and you're kind of in need of some more minions, especially maybe in the early game, this would not be a bad one to put in your deck. But otherwise, I think you have a lot better options depending on what your strategy is.
You could go also put this in Control.
I'm not sure if you would put this in Control Priest. I think Control Priest has some better options.
Mainly as a thought.
Yeah. Like I said, it's not bad as a I need room. This is not a bad minion, but Priest actually has a lot of really good options. And especially Priest can kind of want to specialize. Next up, we have Drakkari Defender, which is a 3-cost 2/8 Shaman minion with Taunt and Overload 3. That has a big butt. It's a very big butt. A 2/8 Taunt for 3 is very good. My problem with this card is its Overload. I think the Overload might kill this card. I don't think the card is good enough to get over the Overload in this case. And as far as taunt minions go for slower control-oriented shamans, Shaman already has much better options. And for three mana and a smaller Overload, Shaman can already play Feral Spirits. So, has a big butt. I think that Overload kills it. I really do, because I don't think you play this later in the game to get over the Overload, and I don't think that you play this early in the game. So, yeah, I don't think this is going to be... I think Shaman has better options when it comes to their taunts. I don't think this is going to be seeing a lot of play. Especially, I think, by the time you get to the 3 and 4 slot, you pretty much you have some better options as far as taunts go.
Well, it's got a big butt, and I cannot deny. That Overload I won't deny. When this card comes in at the 3-cost slot, it doesn't get played because of Stonehill Defender.
You kind of lost it,
ender. Yeah, I had it at the thought, and I had it in my head. It didn't come out as perfect as I wanted it to.
I'm like, you started losing. I'm going, no. I'll wait to see where he goes with this. Nope, he's gone.
Nope, just gone. This is why, if anything, I don't have a rap career. I have more or less of a singing sort of thing.
Yeah,
but
you can't rap as well as Ben Brode can.
Brode is the man. So, I mean, like, he's already done it for the last 2 expansions. We're going to see it in the 3rd expansion, no doubt in my mind. But just, yeah, when it comes to this card, just, you're playing Stonehill Defender in that 3 slot. Sure, you can pick it for a potential later game drop, but that taunt slot area, when it comes to Stonehill Defender and Shaman, just, it is getting super duper contested when it comes to Stonehill Defender just discovering you a taunt. But I'm going to shift on into Fallen Sun Cleric. It's a 2-cost, 2/1 battle cry. Give a friendly minion +1/+1. Alright. I mean, if you really want to, we can just say, alright, Zoo, turn 1, drop something. If it doesn't get shot, turn 2, we're gonna just drop this Fallen Sun Cleric onto it. Turn 3, Shattered Sun Cleric onto the Fallen Sun Cleric. 4, keep going on and just doing whatever. As far as active scene play, I'm not exactly sure, besides Zoo, where this would find its proper home, but I could be wrong. I think it's an okay/average card, so I feel that's where it'll slot in at. So back to Bulb now.
Arena. Other than that, I don't think it's going to see a lot of play. Shattered Sun Cleric, while we've played a Shattered Sun Cleric in the past, it doesn't see as much play now because really the battle cry is not as effective as I think players want to be, especially with the body. And Fallen Sun Cleric, I don't think is going to get played for much the same reason. I've noticed the theme with the deck that they've gone with a lot of OG Hearthstone effects on new bodies, and it's because of those reasons. Looking back at the original generation Hearthstone cards, whether they're seeing play or not, I'm looking at much the same thing, and because of that, I don't think Fallen Sun Cleric is going to see a lot of play. Next up, we have Shadowreaper Anduin, which is the Priest Hero card. It's at 8 cost. Of course, you're going to get 5 armor like always. Its battle cry is it destroys all minions with 5 or more attack when it hits the battlefield. And its hero power is Void Form. It deals 2 damage, and after you play a card, refresh this. Oh my word, you can go nuts with this hero power. I'm thinking play this in a Reno-style deck, in a Highlander deck, with Raza, and Endless Void Form, baby. Go nuts. As far as the battle cry, I think there's potential, depending on your setup, depending on how you build your priest deck. With Skulking Geist, to essentially create unfun, uninteractive combos in line of what we expect from what we kind of thought of from Queststroke. To essentially, that was my problem with Skulking Geist, is I just felt it was way too it was uninteractive, it was unhealthy, and it could be problematic. I thought, what if you were playing, let's say you were playing Jade Druid, and they were playing a priest with Shadowreaper Anduin. So they just stall, they control your board for a while. Turn 7, play Skulking Geist, get rid of all your ability to pretty much, because you're thinking about going to late game soon, and maybe this is in the late game, so it's not exactly turn 6 or whatever, turn 7 or whatever. But essentially in the late game, they kill your Jade Idol. Then the next turn, they're kind of keeping your board controlled so you can't hit them with the big things. And you play the big things because you're like, well, I'm Jade Druid. Play Shadowreaper Anduin, wipe out your board. You don't have a way to come back at all because they can just wipe you out. They don't have to interact with you, they just wipe you. And I think they can do this with almost any deck if they put their mind to it. And that's my that was my problem, is I'm going, there are possibilities here to just be that uninteractive and unfun, because that is not going to be fun for the other player. And it's not going to be too much fun because you're essentially kind of just, it's the same kind of problem that people have had with Freeze Mage, is that you can play Solitaire. And I think there are decks that Shadowreaper Anduin will be great in. I think Shadowreaper Anduin is great. But also I think that with certain combinations of cards, I think Priest can create a very uninteractive combo deck that just focuses on destroying your opponent's deck and just stalling them out and annoying them to death. And that's my greatest fear. I might even be blowing this up, and it might be over exaggerating and this won't happen. but I saw the potential there, and that kind of scares me that Blizzard, in order to avoid potential issues, might have created another solitaire type combo deck.
You good?
Yeah.
Alright.
Go ahead and gush about the card, because it's a cool card.
Well, if anything, like, I'm taking a look at Shadowreaper Anduin, and I'm just like, okay. I hear your point on making a Kazakus/Highlander deck. Which, like, that's legit. Legit AF. Potentially throwing in also being brought in and roped into this. So, it's like, alright, we can make this bonker/bananas. And then I started to think about Lyra and being able to get all of those triggers off of it as far as like the tap hero power goes. And then it's just like, how bonkers/bananas could we be to make it to where it would be an actual OTK? So it's like, okay, we put in Burgle Bully, we get a few coins just to be able to just go, alright, Lyra, coin, tap, fling, coin, fling, spell, fling. And it's just like, okay, you do get that ideal of solitaire, but it's just like, you gotta sit and think, alright, how realistic can this be? And potentially, how will the metagame shift and shape out?
I wasn't talking about a Reno deck being the solitaire deck. I was looking at a potential stall priest deck.
Oh, well, no, I was going along the lines of, not just Reno, but I was just going along the lines of just, like, the stall / like, big health, death rattle priest and stuff like that. So it's just like, this card has the potentiality to go nuts, and I don't know if anything, if Shadow Form works alongside of it to increase the power up from 2 to like 3 or 4.
I don't think it does.
But if it does, my god.
You should try that out, Eddie! Why not? Get rid of your nice hero power.
I don't know if I'll get this Death Knight. I've already got a couple on my list that I need.
Actually, in fact, I remember them saying that Shadow Form does not stack with that, so you do not want to play Shadow Form after you get this. Because I remember because they revealed this on Omnitech, and that was actually brought up. So no, it does not stack.
Aw, all right. Well, there goes that dream. Thank you, Mike Donate, for shutting that down for me. So, if anything, yeah, like you had the potentiality to go nuts with it, but like, realistically, how nuts are we going to actually get around that time? So, going to really depend on how the meta shapes out. Are we good on Shadowreaper?
Yeah, and I just want to, before we go, just say that the point I was making was a deck that the focus was just stalling. So probably playing control that the only point is just to stall and keep you from doing anything type deck. In the vein of like the old Freeze Mage. The way priest decks are built now, even for control, are not built in that way, but I see the potential that it could happen.
Understandable and fair. However, I'm going to have to ask you, for at least for right now, to take a few minutes and play dead. It's a 1-cost Hunter spell. Trigger a friendly minion's Death Rattle. So we're trying to push, of course, Death Rattle Hunter again. To which I go, okay, I can see it. You've got a few combo pieces in the set. You've got one of the newer cards that we'll be definitely discussing about as we get towards it, to be able to combo with Play Dead. And then you've got Feign Death, which triggers all minions. But this one is just going, okay, I'm going to pick that minion and make it Play Dead, or at least triggers Death Rattle. Again, if anything, I like it. It's definitely a niche card, but it's just like, this to me is not what Hunter does. So it's just like, unless we see a heavy shift in how Hunter plays, this card doesn't get to see play. So, if anything, I hope I'm wrong. So, if anything, I'll cast Resurrect on Bulb and go.
Well, first of all, can we admit how adorable the card art is?
Yes, we can.
Good boy. Who's a good boy? You're a good boy. Okay, second of all, I agree with Eddie that I don't think this is going to see play, but I think it's for very different reasons. You know, number one, I don't think that Death Rattle Hunter is really going to rise from the ashes in the new metagame. I could be wrong. It'd be really cool if I was wrong, but I don't think it will. And secondly, if it does, Hunter already has a lot of access to minions that do much the same thing. And as we've kind of seen, if you have an option between a spell that doesn't affect and a minion that doesn't affect, you choose the minion, hands down, every single time. And Hunter has access to several of them at this point, where they can just just put these minions on the board, target another minion, and have them trigger. Now, Feign Death is out of, Feign Death would have possibly seen play if it was still in the meta, but that's because it triggered all Death Rattles. I don't see a one-cost card that could potentially die to Skulking Geist that's only uses to do what minions can already do, really making it into Hunter decks when they probably want to use those spells for other things, like potentially helping to control a board in a mid-range deck. So I don't see this being played. As adorable as it is, I think even in Death Rattle Hunter decks, this is dead on arrival. Next up, we have Deathspeaker. Deathspeaker is a 3-cost 2/4 neutral minion with Battle Cry. Give a friendly minion immune this turn. This could be cool depending on what you're trying to do. I just don't... Unless it's a minion that gives your hero immune, I don't see it being very useful. There's not a lot of use a lot of times to basically give your minion immune. Maybe you might use this in the new type of hunter, not hunter, but warrior they're pushing. Because you basically get a minion low enough on damage, make them immune, have them ram into things and still stay alive. Okay, I could potentially see that. But in general, immune effects really aren't that strong in Hearthstone. We've had a few really strong minions with immune effects, mainly Mal'Ganis. But even now we have the Illusionist. I think it's like Violent Illusionist or whatever. That makes your hero immune during their turn, and that still doesn't see a lot of play. So I can see this being played in a few niche decks, but other than that, I don't think this is going to be widely played.
I see more of this getting a home in Arena, because, oh hey, looky there, I gotta protect my minion. Bop! Get rid of the minion on your board. I have control of the board now, because Tempo swings, yay! But outside of Arena, I really don't see it being standard. We good?
Yep.
Rattling Rascal. Cost 2/2. Battle Cry. Summon a 5/5 skeleton. Death Rattle. Summon one for your opponent. Hey everybody, look! It's your 4-mana 7/7.
Ha!
If you really want to, because of Wild, you can go Bran into a 4-cost 12/12. And that is even scurrier when you think about it. Okay. Like, let's potentially play this in Warlock. You're not playing this in Priest, because if you're going against a Priest and a Mirror, they're just going to Potion of Madness it, and then not give you the one Death Rattle to give you the 5/5. So they may just poke one of your 1/1 minions, or at least poke one of your, like, 1/3 or whatever.
Why would they Potion of Madness it then?
That's what I'm saying. They could Potion of Madness it, take it, bump it into one of your smaller minions, bump another one of their small minions into it, heal your minion, or heal their minion, and then go, here you go. I got your hopes up, bye! Whoosh. But yeah. Or hang on. You know, this could be hit by Moat Lurker. So it's just, I'm gonna Moat Lurker that Rattling Rascal. And then get myself a 5/5 as well as a 3/3. So, options. Or, of course, you know, we're gonna just play this in Warlock, give it to our opponent, and then just say, have fun with that. Bulb.
Yeah, I think except for, like, maybe a niche Treachery Warlock deck, I think the downside with the Death Rattle is just too big. Much the same way as Bomb Lobber, I don't think it's going to see a lot of play. So, next up, we have Howlfiend. Howlfiend is a 3-cost, 3/6 Warlock Demon. That says, whenever this minion takes damage, discard a random card. Guys, I know our discard... There are discard Warlock Dreams that were high. This is not the card you put in that deck. Discard Warlock... Disco Lock wants controlled discard, or as controlled as you can get. This is not it. I have a hard time seeing how this is going to see play. I'm not even sure you use Treachery on this. I don't think the synergy is that good. I don't think Warlock plays this. I don't think that the stat line is good enough for the downside in a demon deck. I don't think that this is what you want to play in a disco deck, and I don't think this is what you want to play in a Treachery deck. So I don't think you play this.
You kind of hit all my names, because it's just like, Treachery, yeah, sure, I can give this to my opponent, but this is a mana here. You start discarding your cards now because I gave this to you. When realistically, I could just go bomb squad and then give it Treachery, deal your opponent 5 damage. Because, hey, the goal of the game is to set my opponent's health to 0, so that's a lot better way, or at least a lot better of a use. Treachery. So it's just, I mean, like, maybe I'm wrong? If anything, like, maybe someone will find some wacky combo, or at least, like, wacky thing to do with it. But realistically, this just, like, no. I can't. I honestly can't. So I assume on one. Yes.
What?
I said I assume we are good.
Yeah.
That card. Alright. Next up, we've got Frozen Hello. 3-cost. Mage Secret. After your opponent plays a minion, add 2 copies of it, and I like this. In the standard side of things, as well as Arena. Arena, I can definitely see this being something that is just gobbled up. Because it's just like, hey, you're going to play cards, and then I'm going to get cards, or at least 2 copies of what you just played into my hand. And it's just like, okay. On the standard side of things, it makes it to where your opponent has to start thinking, okay, is that going to be Entity or Frozen Clone? And so it's like, it's really, really becoming a mind game now. To where it's like, alright, I can give them a copy of this on their board, or give them a copy of this in their, or 2 copies of this in their hand. I like the duplicate part of it, and so it's just like, what do I do? I mean, yeah, there's a lot of easy ways to play around both Mirror Entity and now this. So it's just like, does it see play in Constructed? I say maybe. But, like, Arena, I definitely see this bulb.
I think it has some uses. I think it can be very strong, depending on the minion that you get. A lot of Battlecry minions, being able to play them from your hand is preferable. But I'm just thinking, as far as overall strength level of secrets, because we have to evaluate that, because we need to evaluate the strength level of some of the spells that Mage is getting. Especially secrets in regard to other secrets, of whether Mage is going to play them in Standard, especially Secret Mage. And that means we need to evaluate this in regards to Mirror Entity. And I have to wonder, most of the time, would I rather have 2 minions in my hand that I then have to play, or would I rather get a minion, a copy of the minion your opponent plays summoned on the field? And I think 9 times out of 10, or maybe let's just say 8 times out of 10, so that's 4 times out of 5. I think I want the minion on the field. I think that just might end up being stronger. I guess it just depends on what you're going for. And I think that just most of the time I would just prefer to have a Mirror Entity over a Frozen Clone. But Frozen Clone, I think, is strong in its own right. But I think, that the choices are going to have to be made in those type of decks and what you value more. Me personally, I value board presence more. So, Frozen Clone is good. I'm just not sure if it's good. I'm unsure right now as far as whether it will be good enough to see play in the secret style Mage decks. So, next up we have Shadow Essence. Shadow Essence is a 6-cost pre-spell that says summon a 5/5 copy of a random minion in your deck. I kind of like this. For certain decks, I think this is very strong. For other decks, I'm not sure why you would bother. I think most priest decks probably will not want to run Shadow Essence. But if you're running a priest deck with some strong minions with effects that you want on the field, I think Shadow Essence is the way to go. 5/5 is a strong body, and if you're going for an ongoing effect, or like a Death Rattle effect, or a Taunt, or a Lifesteal, or something, this can be very strong. I was personally thinking that this would be an ideal card for my Legendary deck in Wild, because most of those Legendaries, I kind of wouldn't mind having out on the field right about now, even if it's a 5/5, because they're going to give you ongoing effects. So I think in those terms, Shadow Essence is very strong. So I don't think this is going to see play in every Priest deck, but I think in certain Priest decks, this can be a very strong addition to the deck.
Yeah, I think, if anything, if this finds a home, it's going to find a home in the Highlander decks. Because, like, you can run one of X or Y or Z. And just being able to just go, alright, here, vomit out a 5/5 on turn 6. I can't argue with that. I can't complain. I mean, it does give your opponent insight on the idea of, okay, this is what I have left in my deck. At least, that's in my deck. But that 5/5 is really hard to deal with for most classes. So that's where I could see a home. Like, I realistically also see seeing a home in Arena, like, hands down, because it's just, oh, free 5/5 on board, dush, value. We get on Shadow Essence.
Yep.
Breath of Sindragosa. 1 cost, mage spell. Deal 2 damage to a random enemy minion and fruit. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. This is an okay mage spell. It really is. And overall, like, taking a look at this set now that I can see the full spread of everything, as far as mage spells go, they've gotten from this set very, I would say, underwhelming spells. And I can understand why they got them. It's a bit of a nerf to the primordial glyph. So it's like, okay, here you go. Here's some spells to kind of thin the pool of really good spells for that card. However, this card on its own, if you want to potentially go into Wild and run this to where you can use it with Flame Waker, not a terrible idea. But other than that, I'm looking at it as an okay card. So, Bulb, maybe there's something that you can say, or at least something you can kind of bring up that would make me just go, alright, yeah, I can move it higher up in the list of actual cards that you're going to run in your deck.
This is a very strong one-drop spell. I don't know why this is being discounted. It's a very strong one-drop spell. It deals 2 damage and freezes a minion. Forgetting the fact that you can kind of control where that goes if you really want to. And this is 2 damage for a one-drop spell is not anything to sneeze at, plus you're freezing a minion. Yeah, it's random, but guys, Flame Cannon was played, and it was strong. So I think this is going to be strong as well. You know, it's not going to be as strong as some of your other spells, but it's a one-cost spell, guys. It doesn't have to be. It can pick off some smaller minions. It can potentially free some bigger minions later down the line. And you're going to use it when you have the best chance at controlling where it goes. I think for the cost, I think this is probably one of the strongest one-cost spells in Standard right now. So, yeah, I think if you are definitely going with a more control-oriented mage, like, Freeze Mage is not going to play this, guys. No, it's not going to happen. But if you're going for a more control-oriented mage, I would definitely consider running 2 copies of this. I'm just waiting for Eddie's jaw to just drop going, oh my word, he made a case.
Well, I mean, if anything, yeah, you did make a case. So it's just like, I can move on.
Yep. Next up, we have Rotface, which is the warrior legendary. It's an 8-cost 4/6 that says whenever this minion survives damage, summon a random legendary minion. This is so cool. I kind of like cards that do stuff like this. I will take the chance with random legendary minions. If I get this, I will figure out a way to use it. I already have an idea for a deck that uses this anyway, so that's kind of cool. I was a big fan of Confessor Palatris during the Grand Tournament, and I kind of like Rotface for the same reason. Just the ability to summon a random legendary minion. Now, it's going to be harder. It's not going to be able to go infinite, or go as long as I think Confessor Palatris would. But you can get a few legendary minions, and Warrior has been given a lot of whirlwind effects in this new expansion, so you're definitely going to be getting several legendaries if you play your cards right. I really like this card. I am kind of excited about this card, and I might actually be experimenting with this.
I can see the upsides to it, like, no doubt. You're getting a random legendary, and it's just like, ooh, that's nifty. But I can also sit down and just go, well, let's see how many times I hit fucking Patches.
Patches is love, Patches is life.
And just go, fine, plink it out of existence, hit it again, flip, Patches again, damn it! Flip. I don't expect to have that happen. Like, when I got to see it during the stream on Monday, like, watching it flip out those OG legendaries like King Mukla and Nat Pagle, it's just like, alright, I can see the benefits of this thing. So, are we good on this one.
Oh, yes. Come to Papa.
Alright, next card we get to spin on Bone Drake. He's a 6-cost, 6/5 dragon neutral rare. The Death Rattle of add a random dragon to your hand. Just give me this. I'm slapping 2 of these bad boys in my Dragon Priest deck. I'm just gonna say screw it, come out and say it. It's gonna be a meta-defining card. Because you're getting random dragons generated to your hand. And if anything, if you want to, you can run a Dragon N'Zoth deck. Again. In Wild, you're going to have a hard time figuring out what you want to kind of rotate in and rotate out to be able to make this puppy work. Standard, you've got enough room to be able to swap out cards and swap in cards for him. And now I kick it over to Bulb.
Yeah, Bone Drake essentially is the announcement of Dragon decks are back, baby. Yeah, Dragon Priest hung around after the rotation. Even though I thought it would rotate out, Dragon Priest hung around. But guys, let's not fool ourselves, and let's be completely honest here. Dragon Priest lost a lot of its muster. It lost a lot of its synergistic. It lost a lot of its synergy, a lot of its cards that essentially gave it the strength that made it such a top tier deck. Now it mustered through, it got through, but the cards that were added to Dragon Priest were essentially cards that where Priest players made do and to get value back. Bone Drake as well as Cobalt Scalebane essentially are huge value dragons that slot into the 5 and 6 cost slot, where a lot of your main value minions and old Dragon Priest kind of slotted in anyway. Things like Blackwing Corruptor. We lost Corruptor. We lost all of those synergies. And yes, it's like, well, what about it being late game, guys? Dragon Priest is a mid-range deck, and dragons end up being more of a late-game threat anyway. The whole idea, if you're playing Dragon Priest, or heck, any dragon deck, is you want to be able to curve and get to that late game. You want a very strong late-game presence, because that's where you're going to dominate. And Bone Drake is just going to help you dominate, because number one, it's a strong 6 cost in the first place. Number two, its Death Rattle is going to give you another dragon to help you dominate that late game, which is exactly what you want. Now, the argument has been said, well, I can't get rid of this, this, and this in Dragon Priest. But the thing is, you really need to think about what Dragon Priest wants to do synergistic-wise, and you're going to come to the conclusion that a lot of the minions that you are slotting in to Dragon Priest right now are minions that are just in every Priest deck, or in almost every deck, period. They are value minions just to provide value. In the end, you can cut those. You do not need Lyra in Dragon Priest. You do not need Elise in Dragon Priest. I'm sorry, guys. You don't really need it. Elise is a nifty card, but if we're being completely 100% honest here, Elise is not your endgame. Big freaking dragons are your endgame, and you need to support that endgame. And Bone Drake supports that endgame, while Elise does not. Elise can give you answers, but at this point, we are now being given answers in the form of Cobalt Scalebane and Bone Drake. Embrace them. They are going to basically make Dragon Priest stronger. So, I mean, we're pretty much getting some of those answers back. Now, granted, we don't have a lot a lot of really strong 4-drops, but Priest can make do. Priest has the strength, and I think you definitely want to run Bone Drake as a 2-of. I don't know whether you want to run at least one Cobalt Scalebane, but at least whether you run Cobalt Scalebane or not, run 2 Bone Drakes, guys. If you're running Dragon Priest, you need to run 2 of these things. Period. The chance for it to give you really big and really important dragons is phenomenal. And the fact that it is not limited to basically neutral and class cards like Discover effects means like you can get the dream of something like Sindragosa, which we actually saw in the stream. So yeah, this is a 2-of in any Dragon decks. This is a 2-of in Dragon Priest decks. And I think that if you're having problems with that, you really need to step back and you need to evaluate what your end goals are for your deck. And you're going to realize that Bone Drake essentially works towards the deck's strengths, and cards like Lyra and Elise ultimately do not. They're just there to provide extra value because you do not have any other cards to do so. And now you do. It's time to cut the ties, guys. Sorry about that.
And if anything, like, also as far as late game cards, my last point, you've got Ysera, especially going into the Dragon Priest mirror. That is your saving grace, because your opponent, more than likely they're net decking, is probably not going to be running that Ysera in the deck. They're going to be like, oh, mid-range, gush, here we go, and then wait. What? You have Ysera? Ah, ball.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Big dragons like Ysera, Alexstrasza, the like, they're your end games. They should already be in your deck. And whether they are or not, Bone Drake's going to help you have another opportunity to get a big freaking in-game dragon, because, surprise, surprise, guys, most dragons are big freaking in-game dragons. That's why I always felt that it was very important to run some resurrect spells in Dragon Priest to get big freaking dragons back.
Yeah, but most of the time you got your whelps.
Yeah, well, now I have a better option.
Yeah.
Okay, so next up we have Webweave, which is a 5-cost druid spell that says summon 2 1/2 poisonous spiders. Not bad. The effect's decent. The spiders can be a threat and can allow you to take out and control your opponent's board. I guess it just depends on what kind of druid decks really rise to the occasion. So I guess depending on the deck, this could see play. I guess for me this is a wait and see type card because I'm not sure.
I'm gonna have to just go and be the guy that goes, nah, because I'm just looking at it, I'm just going, alright, well, potentially a token deck, but at the same time I'm just going, potentially I'm being stupid there. I mean, you could try to hide it behind the taunts that Druid has been provided and see if that does anything for you, but it's just more or less, like, it really is just that meh for me. Are we good on Webweaver?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I have to say is I'm seeing a lot of elements and Druid to make me think that they might want to be going for a more controlling aspect or control deck. But the problem is that they've been relying on minions to do that and not giving Druid much in the way of ways of spells. I mean, these 1/2 poison spiders could help you control the board, but they could also not make much of an impact whatsoever. I'm not impressed with where they're going with that, and maybe a deck will be created that will make me think otherwise, but I'm just not sure what decks will be using that. I guess we'll have to see, again, wait and see.
Do we have enough time for one more?
We have enough time for one more.
Alright. Last card is Saronite Chain Gang. 4-cost, neutral rare, taunt, battle cry. Summon a copy of this minion. Alright, so the first place my brain goes to is Token Shaman, because this is a lot better in the 4-drop slot to be able to, on turn 5, if they live, throw down Brawl Deathspeaker, fire those bad boys up to 6 cost. Or just knocking them up to 5. Either way. Second place my brain goes is Buffeting. Just keeping these in hand for just a little bit, buffing them up a couple times, and then just dropping them on board and maintaining giant taunts. And just going, ha ha! But, like, those are the 2 spots I see it filling in. Could it potentially go into Token Druid to maybe make it, at least make other aggro decks slower? That'd be a fun little niche. But realistically, the 2 spots I see it going in, top one being Token Shaman, and then, of course, second being Buffeted, if it actually becomes a thing and potentially becomes relevant. Bulb.
Yeah, those are. This is gonna be a card that fits in one of those type of decks. Because I'm thinking, well, if you're looking for a taunt type minion or a minion that produces taunts in the 4 slot, I mean, maybe this will be good in arena, or this will be good as a way to pretty much put out 2 taunts that make it easier to stall. But you could have also just put out 1 big taunt. Maybe 2 taunts are better. I'm not sure. I don't think this finds a home in Taunt Warrior, because Taunt Warrior has access to a lot better 4-drop taunts, and I think they would prefer to go with those over this. So, yeah, I think Evolve Shaman, your token decks, your Buffeted decks like that are going to be the ones that are more likely to use this. Other than that, I'm not sure if a lot of decks are going to be using this in general. So, I guess that's it for this go around the card discussions. We have a lot more to cover, but we will see you guys then, and bye.
Bye!